All right, welcome to another episode from the Chart Reader. So I'm going to cover four on this one, but the last two are kind of the same similar thoughts. So we'll start with SoFi. I've been grouping KULR with this one, so it's easy for my tagging. So I'm going to do that one as well. And then I really want to talk about the two that were seemingly the loudest, WRD and NBIS. I'll be real honest, I'm not that familiar with those two. I have to like look down at my phone and remember them, but I think those are going to be some important ones to look at in the next coming weeks, months. We'll see, right? So, starting with SoFi, look, there's a lot to like here right now. That was a very nice Friday candle. I'm liking the volume, especially given because I always call Friday a loser day, right? Like that's big volume for a Friday. Let alone the fact that we got over the 50-day line, right? We're taking back multiple moving averages. Really, what I'm also looking at when I'm looking at SoFi, I zoomed out maybe too much, but let's see. No, that was good. NASDAQ has been going up and down, up and down, up and down. It's been a nice couple days, actually. And I just drew this line recently. I like that we're in that 20K range right there. S&P 500, SPX, kind of the same thing as well, right? Again, a not as pretty, maybe you can call it, but a good 3 days over our line again. That's not too bad. And again, when I'm looking at what is it called? When I'm looking at SoFi, I'm going to be looking at those, and a little bit more than usual. I'll be looking at the Dow Jones as well. There's a little bit of just baseline banking to this thing, right? So tough drop. Red, green, pretty much stabilizing. I think for the first time in a bit, all three of them are nearly over all five, are nearly back over all time highs. And hey, there's a little bit more harmony here than I've been seeing in the last couple videos, couple weeks, right? So that makes me feel good for SoFi. And again, like I said, I actually like the setup on its own when I'm looking at this chart right here. Looking at KULR, the next one. Look, if you saw my video, I'm not even pretending I wasn't. I got excited about this candle. I for sure did. This was a nice big 28% candle after what was multiple dojis in a row. Generally speaking, when you get that one big candle, it tends to be the truth and it should confirm and go. I'm very surprised to see us down in this 213 range instead of a little closer to the three pluses. Again, nothing's perfect, nothing's guaranteed. I don't have a crystal ball. I'm just here setting expectations and then attacking if correct or adjusting if wrong, right? But I think the biggest thing, obviously, besides the lack of confirmation, and I'll talk about it more, it is the volume down here. It is all about that 50-day average line. And yeah, unfortunately, the last 4 days couldn't do what that fifth candle, the one that got us excited, did, right? But hey, we're still over this string of dojis, right? We're obviously still over the 100 moving average as well. So that's at least what I got in my head, right? But yeah, we'll talk about the clusters and the potential up and down, okay? And then the last two, but like I said, I'm going to kind of group them together. So we're going to look at, sorry, I don't remember these tickers, WRD, WeRide Inc. You can see the crazy doji, big 83% day, incredibly large volume, all of that, right? And then not as loud, but same boat, NBIS, all right? These are the two that we're going to be looking at relatively together. And these are the two that you can arguably say, and I don't even know if it's arguable, they basically did. These are the ones that really hurt SoundHound and Serve Robotics. So all of a sudden, it looks like the NVIDIA attention that was on those two has now shifted to these two, right? And in a lot of ways, when I talk about these two stocks, I'm going to talk about two other stocks. I'm going to talk about SoundHound and I'm going to talk about NNOX. All right. So I'll give you my technical thoughts on both of these, obviously. But yeah, this is not the first time we've seen an NVIDIA investment disclosure. All right, this is not the first time we've seen it on two separate stocks at the same time, and that's why I really want to show what SoundHound and NNOX did as we're looking at WeRide and Nebius Group right here. All right, so an interesting group to say the least. Excited for this one, but before we do go any further and I give you more of my thoughts and opinions, what are we going to do? Same thing we always do, right? We'll take a look at the daily and the weekly to see how these things are setting up short term. We have our 5 moving averages. There are horizontal support and resistance lines that I do draw manually myself. And then when we are done up here, we'll use the MACD, RSI, and volume as our lower indicators. Hey, really quickly, if you can, please subscribe to this channel. Share this video online. Comment good or bad if you disagree. Look, anything you can do helps so much with these YouTube algorithms. But for real, just being here, giving me your time. Oh, I'm so grateful for it. All right, so let's get into SoFi. And really, I don't even know where I want to start. A little bit of me wants to do the index review again. Where I think I'm going to start is actually this right here. It's this earnings that was on the 27th. I thought if I clicked here, they'd give me more info. No. Nonetheless, look, I always say our simple human opinions about earnings don't matter. All right. What the market does after the reaction from the market is what matters more. And normally, I would be really worried to see that heavy a downtrend on SoFi, basically 2.5 weeks coming after the earnings. All right. I think what's easy to say is NASDAQ actually, oh, get out of here. NASDAQ actually had a good 2 weeks right there. Get out of here. Really? What about S&P 500? Even S&P 500 did. Get out of here. You can see that this is not rehearsed because I would have not started with that. I'm a little surprised to see this go down in those weeks, even though those two indices actually did all right and went up. Look, I thought that this was a good earnings. I don't know exactly where it was. I know it's in here. There's just literally so many earnings that we look at, right? But the SoFi earnings weren't that bad. And I think in my head, what I'm kind of telling myself is, look, this was a odd reaction, but what I care about is what really happens with the moving averages. Look, let's walk through this entire thing, right? We're still over, right? This is the first one that loses all five. That's not confirmation. That's not confirmation. That's a bad candle. None of those are confirmation. Lo and behold, we're back, right? So as unfortunate as that earnings downtrend is, hey, we never lose and confirm all three moving averages here. So to me, MAs were able to hold. Lo and behold, we're right back up to over this cluster, right? And more importantly, over all five, right? I think a really important thing right here is this 1660 line. We have been trying and trying and one more time trying again, over no confirmation, over no confirmation, and obviously right back under, right? So that's been a difficult line to say the least. And yeah, I think it's going to be real important to get over that. I think the monster money line is basically going to be 17 flat. You can see in the box over there, that was the open of this Tuesday, the 21st candle. I think if we can kiss 17, it'll probably make a quick move to 1750, and then hopefully we retest the attempt at 20 plus, right? Because again, don't forget where SoFi is. Let's zoom out. Let's zoom out. We are over the golden line. That was our IPO line. And we are in a mountain of red, 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 green, 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 red, 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 green, green, green. Like this is a good fast channel if we can get over that very difficult 1660 line that I just talked about, right? So you know me, normally I don't like talking about $20 on a $16, $17 stock. That's still a little high, but man, there's a lot to like on SoFi if we can get over that 1660. I'll stay on the weekly really quickly. Look, the weekly RSI got as high as 95.21 if you're looking in the box over there on the left, right? Like we have now come back down to a very healthy 60. You can actually see that when I click in the 60. That's kind of the average. We're in that 60-58 range right there. We're in that 60-58 range right there. 60 seems to be a healthy RSI weekly place to catch and go back up. You know what I mean? So it wasn't going back up very well. It wasn't going back up very well, but hey, all of a sudden we've broken them all, and I think the continuation makes me think it, right? So I'm liking this weekly right here, right? I think basically, look, it's a tough drop if we go from 16 to 14, but overall, I think this is a bullish stock at even as low as $14. When I look at the daily, yeah, look, I think the daily kind of says, you can probably even go to here. 1450 is probably our daily low side, right? But again, I'm not trying to think about 14s, right? I'm really trying to focus on this Friday candle, which I'm about to talk about, right? Friday, we get back over two multiple moving average. We break multiple moving averages, getting back over those last two. You can see the volume gets actually over the 50-day line for the first time in one, two, arguably 3 weeks, right? Because all those other ones were just red. You could even go back to here, the fourth week, that 21st candle I was talking about not that long ago, right? So big volume day, and let's just see if we can continue. Look, Monday's a holiday. Tuesday makes it a short week next week. I don't know if that's going to impact stuff. Really, again, I'm going to flash it one more time just in case you skip the opening thoughts. NASDAQ looks good. All right, NASDAQ has gotten back over those moving averages. We haven't confirmed, but hey, I'll be honest, I'm real glad to see 20,000 instead of like 19,400 or worse. You know what I mean? So that's a good little sign right there. I like that the S&P 500 also basically has that same little curl up. And really, like I said, for the first time in a good while, Dow Jones is actually up and retesting all-time highs as well. So the three indices are finally back to as harmonious as I'd like them to be. And SoFi, in a lot of ways, touches all three of them, right? They're a brick and mortar bank, they're a technology company in the name, right? So, you know. What am I looking for? Look, I think I've said it a couple times, right? We really want to break 1660, more importantly, 17. I think if we break 17, that's the two lines up here, right? 19 and 22 right after. And I kept stressing the red, 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 green, green, green on the weekly, same red, 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 green, green, green on the daily. We haven't gotten over that in about 3 years, right? So monster, monster line if we can break it. Otherwise, like I said, I think as low as 1450, I would still call bullish. If we lose 1450, that's where we'll probably drop to 1350 right there at the 100 moving average. But again, I'm liking the setup. MACD RSI ain't bad. Weekly is a nice little recovery. That's looking solid on SoFi right here. All right. So let me know your thoughts. Let me know your opinions, even if you disagree. Let's take a quick look at KULR. And my goodness, I think the first thing to say is, look, even me, man, even me, my girls out there, I'm human, right? I, as often as I say, don't get excited about a single candle. Sometimes I get a little excited about a single candle, right? And that's the goal of the videos. That's why I talk about keep a strategy and all that. We set a plan and we do our best to stick with it, right? You can't get that excited off a single candle. I think what made me a little extra excited about this one was the five, five, five. You can let's just say that those five, and then another three. You're looking at basically 13 dojis in a row, right? 12, because this is the fifth candle on that week. When you see multiple dojis in a row, generally that one big loud one, whether it's up or down, tends to confirm and continue. I think that's probably what got me a little more excited. But hey, I think the moral of all my videos is everything needs to confirm up as well as down before we start thinking sustained. All right. I think it's good that we're at least staying here, but clearly we need a little bit more. All right. So I think the other thing that I mentioned in the beginning, and I'll say it one more time. Look, I said a while, I don't even remember, before this big candle for sure. I know when we were starting the string. As long as we stay over the original string of dojis, that little string of what, 3, 6, 9 right there. As long as we stay over that, I'm relatively happy. I know when I first said it, we were still under the 100 moving average. I love the fact that the 100 moving average is now over that line right there, right? I'm going to delete it, but let's just keep it real quick, right? To me, this 100 is going to be a difficult line to lose down if we come that way. So to me, we've just built a nice extra layer of defense and an extra layer of support before I even have to worry about that line, right? So that's obviously a very, very good thing. I'm not gonna keep the line, I'm gonna delete it, but look, I think as long as we can hold 177, this is actually still a decently good chart, because when you start getting too many moving averages, what does happen, like kind of like we saw here, it'll spit you up and suck you back down, it'll throw you down and suck you back up. And I can see it coming as low as 177, basically half of this big candle right here, and still be okay. If we lose that 177 from there, that's kind of the next best line, and that's basically at the 100 moving average, right? So I don't want to lose 177. If we were, I could see that 140s being next, all right? The real goal at this point, I think, is going to be get back over this. And look, oh, wow, I actually had no idea. I just mentioned 50% candle down here. Look, roughly speaking, that's where I would click if that was 50% candle of this one. And that's basically what actually stopped that big candle that we saw on the 10th, right? So 50% candle seems to be an interesting little test on this thing. So kind of keep that in your back pocket. But yeah, 265. If you break, you know what? What's this line? 285. Look, it might be worth it. That's a 10% difference right there, right? Every 20 cents is 10%, right? So maybe 270 is a good in between there. If we can break 270, I think that's where maybe I'll start thinking 360. You're basically adding a dollar right there. So in a lot of ways, it's not that bad to wait for it, right? But make me believe that we've gotten over the biggest candle to the left, which is this one right here on the 10th. Make me believe that we've broken 50% of this thing, which is basically the exact same line. I like that 260 up. I don't like that 170 down, give or take. So cool. Look, I think for the most part I'm ignoring the MACD and the RSI. I zoomed in a little too much, but they're basically super horizontal and they're just a little there's not enough data here to make me say anything educated or worthwhile. What does matter is breaking the 50-day line average. Okay, I talked about on the last video for sure. This big candle right here, especially, let alone these couple right here, that brought our white line from all the way down here to all the way up here, right? We've had nothing like that one, so I'm going to zoom into it. And then really, we've had nothing like these ones, which are 100 million days, right? Those are big numbers. All of a sudden, it's just been an impossibility to hit that white line, right? So we, at the bare bone minimum, need 33 million shares. I think what the real important number is going to be basically 47, right? 49 is divisible easily by 7. So look, we're basically looking for roughly anywhere between like 5 to 7 million shares per hour, right? We had a total of 10 on Monday, right? I mean, on Friday, right? So I'm basically asking you to double, like hit the exact same amount of volume in 2 hours, right? But 5 million per hour will give us that 35 that we basically needed, 33, whatever. 7 will give us that like 49. That'll be a better number, right? But that is what I think will dictate what happens. If we can get like the higher the volume, the better chance will be to escape. The more difficult it is to hit that line and just kind of keep making our way down, the more likely it is that we'd make our way on the downside, right? I'm just zooming out. We haven't had earnings in a while, right? The last earnings was back here in November. We are due. It has to be sometime in the next month and a half, right? Because that's this quarter right here. So if you know the exact date, please throw it in the comments and we'll react accordingly, right? But this stock does very well with PR. Right? So if earnings does well, some sort of news drop like that will really help it escape. That generally is what brings volume as well, right? So I think that goes hand in hand what I just said, right? I don't think there's too much we'll gain on the weekly. Oh, I disagree. I thought it was going to be way more clustered than it is. What's that line right there? 270, right? Isn't that what we said on the yeah, we did. 270 is our number. I think if we can get over 270, we're now going to be over the 8 moving average on the weekly. It'll make me happy on the daily chart. 270 is our line up. 130, I know I talked about 130s. I know I said if we were to lose 170, we're probably going to make our way down to 140s. That's basically the 130s that we see right here, right? So cool. I think the weekly chart very much echoed what we said on the daily. I like my lines and thoughts here. Just, that doesn't mean you should agree with me, right? So let me know your thoughts. Let me know your opinions, even if you disagree. Let's take a look at the last two. WeRide, WRD. Okay, so very quickly, I'm going to say a few things, all right? Number one, I mentioned it on yesterday's video, and I got a really cool reaction. So I don't think a lot of people talk about their losses. Most try to sound good and expert and perfect and always making these 80%, 90% accuracies. No. All that's BS, all right? I mess up way more than I get right. And man, this stock specifically wrecked me. I was playing serve. I was playing this all-time high candle, right? We basically got to the top of this. I was expecting it to only get to 50%. Like, there is literally nothing above where we were over the golden line. I was ready for a 20% gain, not a 40% loss. So there's a little bit of me as a human. Yo, I hate the stock right now. I hate these 3 letters. They just cost me a pretty heavy 4-figure Friday. I will easily say that with a smile and a laugh, all right? That said, yo, I'm putting my emotions to the side. I've already, knock on wood, forgotten about the loss. Like I am now focused a bit more on this stock than I was before. All right. And really in a lot of ways NBIS as well. This one as well. This one doesn't look as loud, but the two of them are connected. All right. So let me see if I can find it very quickly. You would think I would practice this. NBIS right here. So there was nope. This was not the one I wanted to see. Give me a second. All right, I think it was after his right here. So oh, maybe it was the right. So they reduced their stake in a few things. All right. Serve was one of them that definitely hurt me, like I said. And then you can see it down here. NVIDIA reported new holdings of NBIS, 1.2 million shares, and then more holdings, 1.7 million shares of WRD. All right, I think WRD did better because you can see it. It's actually almost 50% more shares, right? It's not quite zero point 0.6 more, but it's close to zero point 0.6 more. So they have 50% more shares at least in WRD. I don't know what the math translation is. I don't know what the two tickers value is at the top of my head, right? But man, it crushed these. And again, one thing I said in the opening thoughts, I'm gonna focus on sound and NOX. Maybe serve a little bit too. I will, but um, yeah, this is the play, and this is why we're watching these two. All right. So before I give my technicals on this, let's zoom out on SoundHound. So SoundHound, where am I looking? Wow, all the way back here. February 2024, this was the moment that we saw the NVIDIA first disclosure, okay? NNOX, same February window, we saw the exact same gap up monster reaction. Clearly, NNOX from the disclosure went from up here to down here, as opposed to SoundHound that went from here to here, let alone the rest of it, right? Now, one thing I talked about on yesterday's video is I'm not sure if NVIDIA was responsible for only this from 2 to 8 or for the entire thing from 2 to 20. I had a couple people say it was only the 2 to 8. I'm okay believing that, actually. So we'll call it a 4x jump here, and then basically a little less than a 50% loss. Keep that in mind, all right? NNOX does basically from 6 to here, a 2x jump, and then basically what, a 33% loss, right? From 12 to 9. Okay, from there were some earnings that maybe didn't do well here. From there, people basically said that there were some earnings that were neutral, and that one was the one that took us to the 20. Let me know if you disagree with that, but nonetheless, what I'm focusing on is, excuse me, sorry about, is two things. All right, SoundHound, first pop, few dojis, second pop, drop third. All right, it was a 3-step first NVIDIA moment, gap up. Doji, let's go. Recovery, let's go. All right, NNOX, first gap up, doesn't quite get back to the top, and then from there fails. All right, so that's kind of what I'm looking on WRD. Look, we've made the gap up, right? Are we going to doji for a bit until maybe the 8 moving average catches up? I don't know, right? But are we going to doji a bit and then go? Or are we going to kind of NNOX it and never get back to over the peak? Personally, I think there's two places to consider this one. You can either test it early at 30, basically 33, roughly 50% candle, right? 33 something. Or I think the safer line is just wait for 35. I'll be real honest with you. I think I'm going to set a quick, let's just do 35. Let's do 35 flat, 35.1. I wouldn't mind knowing if this thing got back over 35, because again, from there you're talking all-time highs, no resistances, right? Like that's a great place to be. Otherwise, there really is there's no educated line I can click anywhere and say, oh, I think this one's gonna hold. I think the next line is here. All right, the last thing you want is this to fall down to 22.40. The weekly, oh man, look at that. That's basically 50% of the weekly candle as well. right? So maybe you can call 25% right here and say 27. That's a guess right there. There's not a lot of like educated thought to that, right? But don't fall. Right now, the open on this thing was, sorry, the close on this thing was 31.50. I actually don't like that we're under 31.50 after hours. That's a little worrisome to me actually, right? I want to get above this candle, not below it, right? So keep 27 in your back pocket. That's actually where we whipped. Look at that, 27.50. Maybe 27 ain't that bad a line. Keep that one in your back pocket. But to me, the next strongest line is down, is 22. Yo, if this breaks 35, that's gone. Look, I'm ignoring all three of these. All right. What matters to me is twofold. Number one, is this NVIDIA stuff going to hold? Are people going to care? Is all of a sudden the new average going to be 21? Look, I've been covering BBAI. I don't know if you've been watching it or not, but zooming out real quick. This was the first big all-time high candle. You can see it was the biggest ever since the stock was created. This was the first day right here, nothing even close to it. My question was, were we going to pump and dump? Or are we going to at least kind of establish a new higher? But even all of these, I realize it looks like it's going down. Hey, we're living up here now, right? And that's a good thing. That's actually what's helped. Even though volume has been going down, price has been going up because that's a nice volume hold. Can WeRide hold around 21 million? Yo, if it comes to 15 million, that's obviously a pretty bad drop, but I'm not that bad with that. In all honesty, I wouldn't mind that. You know what I mean? So let's break 35. Let's not dump volume and let's have this NVIDIA love stay on this thing, right? Exact same comments on NBIS. Yo, this is a brand new chart. This is an all-time high doji right here, right? Not quite the biggest volume ever, but hey, this is the biggest buying volume. This volume day right here was a horrible gap down, right? So that's solid right there. And again, same basic comments. Can we now live around this actually is beatable where we ride. I'm already thinking it's pumped and I'm hoping it stays here. Honestly, NBIS has a shot at actually getting more volume. I think that there's a very realistic chance that we can get back up here to the 44 number, if not even higher, right? So this is a nice chart here. This is actually a little bit less crazy on the lower indicators too, and obviously because this was only a 7% as opposed to that 80%, right? But yo, these two are on the radar for sure. All right. And the question's really going to be, is it going to sustain volume? Is it going to sustain NVIDIA attention? And then I think a little bit of it is as well, is one going to do better than the other? Or right? Are they going to do that like jump, hold, drop, jump, hold, drop, kind of repeated, right? So use the lines, use the candles, and yo, for real, watch the volume on these. All right. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know your opinions, even if you disagree. Oh, I appreciate you so, so much.